Hi everyone, I'm Liz Morris with Peppermint Rose Productions, and welcome to Pop Sculpture. In today's video, I'm going to sculpt Piggleston. This is a lead character in a children's book that I've written and illustrated, and I'm really proud of him. The story is finished, the illustrations I'm still working on, but I think he's turned out really well, and I hope you like him. So let's go ahead and dive into the video. I'll take you through the process, and I'll tell you all about him. I made a character model sheet of Piggleston and a miniature head in modeling clay for reference so I can get an idea of what he'll look like from every angle as I sculpt. I'll bulk out his armature with Sculpey Ultralight and bake it, then I'll start adding on his first layer of clay using Sculpey Living Doll. After conditioning the clay, I'll make a thin sheet with my pasta machine and just start pressing it onto the armature. I want to give him a nice pear shape, so I'll bulk him out a bit. He should have a nice round belly, but because I didn't bulk out the armature quite as much in that area, I'm going to add a little pack of aluminum foil, brush on some Bacon Bond, and add more clay on top. So a little backstory, Piggleston came out of a character design that I drew one day, and I thought it would be fun to write a story about him and publish it as a middle grade chapter book. Well, life being life, I was able to get to it here and there, and fast forward to now, I finally finished the writing and am now working on the illustrations. Stay tuned to the very end of the video where I'll tell you about Piggleston's adventure. Once I've compared his arms to the reference, I just cut them open and shaped them onto the armature, blending in the seams. The arms are fairly simple, but visualizing hooves from 2D to 3D was a little tricky. Thankfully got there in the end though. After adding his arms, it's time to carve him some cute wellies. I'll add all the details on his boots after the first bake so they're easier to apply. For now, I just want the general shape. Next, I'll start sculpting his head. I'll poke in a bamboo skewer to his foil armature so it's easier to hold while I sculpt and he'll be less likely to get smushed. Now I'll just keep adding clay until I start getting kind of a rounded football shape. I'll bring out his nose and start working on the rest of his face. Because one of Piggleston's favorite things to do is moan and complain, I thought giving him a pouty lip would be a cute character feature. I've put Piggleston through a lot of design changes, but one thing that I've always kept is his spiral nose. It was in his original design from years ago, and I was never exactly sure why it showed up, but after doing a lot of Hanna-Barbera character design research for my first video on Jinx Jetson, I realized this similar spiral is in Wilma Flintstone's hair. I've always loved those cartoons, so I think they've definitely influenced the design. Something you see a lot in character design is asymmetry. When done well, it can really make a character stand out. So Piggleston's left ear has just a little bend to it, which I hope makes him look a little more cute and endearing. After adding some cartoony lines to his ears, I'll refine them a little more with my silicone tools and then compare them with a reference. Now I'll make his eyes out of black clay. Definitely seeing the Hanna-Barbera influence here. With his face now done, I just have to attach his head and he'll be ready for his first bake. Once he's all set, I'll part bake him at 275 Fahrenheit for 20 minutes. In the meantime, I'm painting his base with Army Painter Air Paints in Oak Brown. The consistency is nice and thin, so I barely need to use any water, and it'll look like a wood stain. After taking another look at the model sheet, his belly still needs some work, so now that he's baked, I'll bulk that out a bit more. I mean, he's gotta have a cute belly. It's time to make his clothes. Even though Piggleston lives on a beautiful California farm, he still likes to consider himself a posh English pig, so I want his clothing to reflect that. We'll start with his vest. It would probably behoove me to get better at patterns. I just took my best guess here and cut away at what I didn't need. Sorry. Bad pun. Every posh pig needs a cravat, or, you know, a nice ascot. This part was a little willy-nilly, but I think we got there in the end. Now that his vest and cravat are done, I'll start adding some detail to his welly boots. He's looking good so far, and the front half of his clothes are done, but now we're getting to the fun part of making his backpack. I'll start by laying on the back of his vest, then as I check the reference again, I decided to bulk out his tush a little more to really push that pear shape. Now we're ready for the backpack. To save on clay and avoid baking issues, I've made a little rectangular shape out of aluminum foil and brushed on some Sculpey bacon bond so the clay will stick to it. I'll make a cute little rollaway for the top of the backpack. It wasn't quite long enough, so I gently rolled it out a little to make it fit. After making some decorative stripes, I'll make some straps for the roll-up. I love adding these small details. It brings an element of realism, but it can also be a great way to show your own style. To add some extra detail, I'll add top stitching lines all over the backpack for a nice finished fabric look. Once I've added on the straps, his backpack will be complete and will only have a couple pieces left to do before his final bake. His little curly cute tail and the final touches on his wellies. I'm using Cosclay doll to make his tail. Cosclay is a clay that bakes with more flexibility once it's cured, so it's good for giving added strength to delicate parts like fingers or tails that break easily with regular polymer clay. We're down to the final details, the soles and toe caps of his wellies. And I almost forgot, I added some fabric texture onto his backpack using the handle of one of my metal loop tools. I've seen others do this, and it's a super handy trick that gives a really nice effect, especially when you dry brush it, it really pops out. Now we're ready for paint, but before I get to airbrushing, I'm going to cover his eyes with some latex nail paint. This will protect them from overspray and it peels off easily when you're done. Now it's time to airbrush. I love this part because this is where your character really starts coming to life. Isn't the latex stuff great? I think it's more satisfying to watch it removed at high speed though. For his colors, I'm mostly using Army War paints and a couple folk art acrylic paints. Thankfully, I was able to match most of the colors with the cover illustration.
So I originally designed Piggleston's wellies to be royal blue, but my husband Andy, who's English, was fairly insistent that Piggleston's boots be hunter green, because that's the typical color posh English people's wellies are. But I thought that color was too dark for his cartoony color scheme, so as a compromise, I changed them to this cool teal color. And I think it works with the rest of his outfit. Hopefully, anyway. Next, I'll paint his backpack in carmine red. His design color is supposed to be more magenta looking though, so I'll brush on a purple wash later to offset the red a little. I'm painting his cravat yellow. This color tends to run thin, so it took a few layers to get it fully opaque. I wanted his outfit to color coordinate, so I started by putting the same yellow and teal colors on his backpack that I just used on his cravat and wellies, but the yellow ended up being too bright. It just seemed to draw too much attention away from everything else. So as you'll see a bit later, I painted over it with a leather brown, which I think helped make it much more subtle. I'm going to paint his buckles and buttons with a metallic copper. So whenever you paint with metallics like gold, silver, or copper, it's best practice to start with a base layer of black paint. It will make your metallic colors super vibrant and stand out. I'll finish the base color on the backpack, then we can fix the straps on the roll-up. And on goes the leather brown. Hopefully it looks a little less like a kindergarten backpack now. After giving everything a second coat of paint, I'll let it dry and just polish up his face and body with an extra coat of pink. With a darker fairy pink, I'll carefully line his nose, ears, and mouth. Here's that wash of purple to help make the backpack look more magenta. Now for one of the best parts, brushing on this nice copper to the buttons and buckles. Mustn't forget Piggleston's cute little belly spots. Piggleston's vest will have an ink-drawn plaid pattern, and I want a subtle illusion of metallic thread texture underneath that, so I'll brush on a stripy copper wash. While the vest dries, I'll touch up the copper buttons and start adding shadows to everything. Time to draw his plaid pattern. I'm using a Sharpie ultrafine point marker. This took a while because using this kind of pen over acrylic paint tends to dry it out really fast, so I was constantly having to scribble the pen on a post-it note to get it to rehydrate. But it was worth it as it gave me pretty precise control and the inky hand-drawn look I wanted. For the final touches, I'll add a few highlights and shadows to the leather straps on Piggleston's backpack to make it look a little bit worn. Alright, get ready, because we finally made it to the last step. I'll be using Gorilla 2-part epoxy glue to attach Piggleston to his wooden base. I wanted to add some realism to the ground Piggleston was on, so I bought these miniature dried flowers from Amazon and some dried moss and Mod Podge from Michaels. I'm just brushing on the Mod Podge onto the base. Mod Podge is basically like white PVA glue that dries clear, so I'll also brush it on the moss and the flowers to help them stay put. The mini flowers are supposed to be used for nails, but that's what I love about nail art. There's so much cool overlap with sculpting and miniatures, and since I do my own nails anyway, it's double purpose. Now, without further ado, I give you Piggleston. Piggleston is the story of Carl Piggleston, a posh English pig raised on a sunny California farm. One day, a mysterious truck appears, causing all kinds of wild rumors among the animals. Annoyed with the unfounded panic, Carl takes his late afternoon walk early, but is soon startled by the sounds of screams. He races back, but it's too late as he sees his family is gone from their pen. The animals gather to tell him they were taken to Hawaii. Despite his shock and despair, Piggleston sets off on a tropical adventure that plunges him into a world far stranger and more magical than he ever imagined, challenging everything he knows about trust, family, and what home truly means. From a wild encounter with the ocean herself to a Hawaiian paradise steeped in ancient secrets and dangerous enchantments, Piggleston must rely on his wits and some unusual friends before his family becomes the main course at the next luau.
I hope you enjoyed today's video. I really enjoyed sculpting Piggleston. This was such a passion project, and it's just been something I've worked on for forever, and I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you'd like to read an excerpt from the book, you can visit my website, peppermintroseproductions.com. I'll also leave a link in the description. If you'd like to sign up for early access, you can do so on my site. About 2 weeks before Piggleston is officially released, we'll send you an email, and if you order it at that point, we will send you a limited edition signed character design art print of Piggleston. If you guys have any questions about the book, please feel free to comment. Also like, subscribe, all of the above. I'll be putting out more videos with other pop sculpture characters that I've done. Till the next video, guys, thanks again and happy sculpting.